the whole Hermes journey thing. It's so stupid to me. It's honestly so stupid. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jessica and I created Dolled by Jay. So if you're watching this channel, you might be interested in the tea, the drama, the fashion news. Basically, there's this tag going around on YouTube that people are saying, is the Birkin just a status symbol? Now, I'm not cool enough on YouTube yet to be tagged in this, but I just tagged myself. I was like, screw it, let's make a video, let's chat about it because it's really interesting. And I don't personally own a Birkin, disclaimer. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Hermes and Birkins and this whole Hermes journey and kind of like tie it all in together. I thought I would just make a video about this because if you're watching this channel, you're probably a fashion lover, fashion enthusiast, you're here for it. So let's get into the video. So basically, I think it was Amelia Rose's Closet. I think that's her name. That's the first tag that I saw. There are several. There's a YouTuber named Yoda Style and someone named Andrea. I guess they're the originals. I just watched Yoda Style's video. It was interesting, like a huge explanation about Birkins and all of that. If anyone knows these black lines that are happening with my camera and the lighting, this is a new camera. I have no idea what's going on. If you could just help me, that'd be great. I'm gonna Google this after. So the Birkin bag, basically I've been seeing different opinions of it online over the last year. I've noticed a rise as well in influencers doing unboxings. Some people are saying the Birkin is just so common now. I mean, I researched this. There's about 200,000 in circulation worldwide. I wouldn't say that's common considering there's almost 8 billion people on the planet now. That's a significant number of bags, but I mean, that's not even as many people that live in, say, Vancouver, Canada, where I'm from, you know? So that's really not that many bags. I think the reason people are thinking the Birkin is common now is because simply of social media. The way algorithms work with YouTube, Instagram, all of that, if you're consuming content that has luxury fashion in it and you're liking and interacting with those photos, those videos, those posts, YouTube, Instagram, all of that is going to generate more content like that because they see you're interacting with it. Same with TikToks, especially with TikTok. The algorithm is very adaptable. So I've noticed personally on my content, because I'm always consuming fashion and, you know, learning about what's going on, I get a lot of Hermes content and I was kind of like, okay, wow. So are there really that many people unboxing Birkins? Like I'm seeing, you know, Elise Millen has a Birkin now and I think a Kelly just in the last year alone. And then there's Just Sweet Lou has, I think, 2 Birkins now and she's like 25 or 26. Lali Mirza has multiple Birkins. She also lives in Dubai. I did a search one day. I think I was just searching Hermes unboxing because I wanted to see how common Hermes really was. And I did, you know, this year, okay, there's a bunch. Last month, there's really not that many. I think the ones that, you know, people are seeing is because the algorithm picks them up because people are so curious about Hermes constantly. You know, a lot of women strive to have an Hermes bag. They want to figure out, you know, can I get one by playing the Hermes game, as they say? We'll get into that. Or, you know, is the secondary market better to do that for? And so I think that a lot of these influencer videos get so many views and push out to so many people who then think the Birkin is so common is just because, you know, so many people are interested in these bags. Now it is interesting because in Dubai, there are a lot of Birkins, I notice. I don't see them every day, but yeah, if I go into the Dubai Mall, there's a strong chance I'll see at least one person with one. If I go to a nice restaurant on the weekend, I might see someone with a Birkin or a Kelly. Specifically, I'm seeing a lot of mini Kellys lately, especially on Instagram. I'm seeing a lot of people with mini Kellys. It could be as well they're just easier to get than the Birkin. You know, that's another consideration. And a lot of influencers such as I think Victoria in the Fro, she just got a beautiful yellow Kelly bag. I think it's seeming a lot more common depending on what type of content you consume, but also where you live. For example, like I lived in Canada for my entire life before coming to Dubai. I think I saw 2 Birkins since living downtown Vancouver in the last 8 years. Anywhere else I lived that was more suburban, no way would you see a Birkin. No way would you even see like a Chanel bag. Very, very, very rare. So I think it really is just a product of where you're from, is that you might see them more. Also some places, you know, there is no Hermes boutique. If you don't live in somewhere like, you know, Dubai, New York, Paris. There is an Hermes even in Vancouver, but I don't know how easy it is to get a Birkin there. It just really depends. London I found interesting because you go by the Hermes in Harrods and they actually had Birkins like on display, and that was the first time I'd actually seen one not on somebody. but in a store. And I was like, wow, like, could you just go and buy that? Like, I doubt it. They probably say it's for a VIP guest or a waiting list, whatever. But I thought it was interesting to actually see them in London. And that brings me to the next point of the whole Hermes game people are playing, where they think that they need to, you know, make friends with the SA and, you know, get the SA's attention and be very sweet with them and develop a relationship and, you know, buy, you know, secondary products such as Oran sandals, belts, jewelry, wallets, blankets, things like that. And I mean, part of me always sees those Hermes blankets and I wonder, is that person trying to get a Birkin and they just bought that blanket because they want to be on the list for a potential Birkin? You know, because I'm feeling like those blankets are becoming so common, but I'm going to touch on that in another video. The whole Hermes game people are playing is really because they kind of want the status associated with saying, I bought this from the Hermes store. Like, that's my opinion. I think a lot of people either want the experience of going into the Hermes store, into the private room, whether or not they serve champagne. I'm not sure if Hermes does that. Oh my God, sorry, supercars. I don't know if Hermes does the whole champagne thing, but I think people do want the status symbol of saying, I bought it from Hermes. You know, I was this exclusive client. Hermes recognized me as someone to buy this bag. And also, you know, that could be one person's perspective. Surely, come on, let's be honest. If you went to Hermes and you have the means to buy a bag and you got invited, it's obviously flattering knowing how hard those bags are to get and that, you know, maybe you didn't have to do too much of a runaround. Maybe you just had a strong purchase history at Hermes and you just thought, you know what, this is great. They're offering me my bag from my wish list. Fabulous. I didn't have to do a runaround. I just have the means and I'm exclusive. You know, or there's the other thing where they just don't want to pay secondary market prices because secondary market prices for Birkins are known to be usually double. I was looking at current Birkin prices for 2022. As of 2022, retail prices for most popular models are $10,145 for a Birkin 25, $11,200 for a Birkin 30, and $12,450 for a Birkin 35. Those are US dollars. I always thought the Birkin for some reason was like 15 to 20 grand, maybe in Canadian dollars. But it's crazy to think how Chanel is really not that far from Hermes now. I mean, I think the classic flap is almost 8,500 or 9,000 US dollars. That's really not that far from the Birkin 25. It's creeping up. They've had, I think, a 20% price increase in the last year in North America at least. So pretty crazy. It's crazy how there's entire videos on, you know, my Hermes journey and playing the Hermes game, how to get a Birkin. It's like, I understand it's a very exclusive, hard to get item. And I understand the brand does this on purpose. But I was also doing some research. I found an interesting article on Town & Country magazine. Go figure. I never read that magazine. Basically, there's an estimated 200,000 Birkins in the world, as I said. Each Birkin takes nearly 48 hours to make, and they are made by a single artisan. So if that Birkin needs to be sent back to Paris for repairs, there's a stamp somewhere inside with the artisan's initials or number or whatever. They will get that Birkin sent directly back to them to personally fix, and they're the only person who has worked with that bag. So I find that really interesting. I think part of it is Hermes is doing this purposefully to keep the bags exclusive. They want a certain clientele, perhaps a certain caliber of clientele, however discriminatory that is, to purchase their bags. You know, someone with the purchasing power to be able to buy, first of all, a $10,000 US bag starting. That's not even getting into, you know, alligator, special hardwares, custom things. That's just the basic 25, okay? That's the smaller one. But I also think that given the fact it's made by a single artisan and takes nearly 48 hours to make, Hermes only employs so many people. And I really am not sure how many artisans they employ. They could have expanded operations, but also I was reading that these leather artisans, they need to undergo training for 3 to 4 years before they can work and create Birkins, basically. So, you know, because of all these factors, it could be that, yes, it is a marketing thing to keep the bags exclusive and, you know, the SAs are not allowing the general public who just walk in off the street and ask for them, unless perhaps you go to Paris and ask for it. They're reserving those bags for VIP clients and people who are on the waiting list, people who have a strong spending history and a relationship with the SAs. But it also could be because there's just not enough of them, honestly. I think it's a bit of both. And I just personally think these videos about people's Hermes journeys, someone makes a video about how they got a Birkin, what were the steps they went through it, that's great. But the whole like my Hermes journey and what I had to do and emailing and like that video that had all those views about the girl that was rejected from Hermes and then she got the Birkin and she was like distraught and then she was fine and all these people replied to it. I was just like, Seriously, like there's so many bigger issues in the world than whether or not you can buy a purse. Like seriously, okay, come on. I was just like, I can't handle this. The whole Hermes journey thing, it's so stupid to me. It's honestly so stupid. And that brings me to my next point is, yeah, is this bag a status symbol as people are tagging and discussing? I think a status symbol, yes, in today's society can be a lot of things, you know? There's a lot of prestigious, somewhat common status symbols, such as like, you know, say someone who drives a nice car, a Chanel purse, an Hermes bag, you know, a Rolex, things like that, a nice house. There's different status symbols, but there's also different status symbols based on like where you live and what culture you're from and all of that. You know, like there's some countries where like having a Rolex, that's not even on the radar. Like they just want to have a nice place to live and safety, right? There's different status symbols. It just depends really where in society and where in the world you live, for sure. I think in today's superficial society, yes, I guess you can consider the Birkin as a status symbol. Designer items are becoming very common. I mean, the way we shop now is anyone basically can go into any store and buy whatever they want except for the Birkin. Really, that's a very unique model. Chanel now is doing this slightly with the classic flaps. Like they're notoriously hard to find now. Like every time I've gone into a Chanel in the last year, they have like a couple of them, or they'll be in weird colors, or they'll say a shipment is coming in and I'm like, okay. So I don't know if Chanel is artificially doing this now because they want to become a little more exclusive like Hermes and be like revered in the same caliber. Although the quality issues I've been hearing about the last year and a bit, like, you know, they kind of have to improve that before they can really get into the Hermes game, you know? In the sense of society being so superficial, I mentioned Logomania all the time, but I'm sorry, people wear logos usually because, you know, they like the brand or they want to be recognized. Yeah, like people are a little bit showy nowadays, and it all comes down to, you know, wanting to show signs, I guess, of status or fashion or being on trends. It's funny because I live in a very like flashy, I guess, status symbol oriented city. So, you know, everywhere I go, I see different status symbols, like different cars, women with just stacks of diamond bracelets like this. Some may argue that's beautiful. Some may argue it's tacky and inappropriate for going to, say, yoga class. But it really just depends on like what your perception of things is. I don't think objects make people better than anyone else. Amelia Rose in her video said something like, you know, she might have friends that could completely judge her for buying an Hermes bag, but if she has the means to do it and that makes her happy, then she will do it, but it doesn't make her better than anyone else. You know what I mean? And I completely agree with that. I also think it's interesting because, you know, some people just have different ways they want to spend their money, different goals. Obviously, not everyone is a billionaire, but there are, you know, as we see online, there's very affluent influencers and YouTubers, and we see constant, you know, Hermes openings and Chanel hauls and $25,000 hauls and $40,000 hauls, just craziness, right? So I think that's really interesting because everyone has obviously the right to choose what to spend their money on, what makes them happy. I think that people can really fall into this trap easily, especially living in a very image-driven world. When I lived in Vancouver, every time you go out on the weekend, guys are wearing like logo sweaters, and every girl had to have some sort of designer bag. It's just insane how people will sometimes go so far just to have something that is perceived status. I find this interesting too, you know, status symbols with shows like Selling Sunset, where it seems like, yes, they're all making tons of money, they're driving fabulous cars, they're showing $5 million homes, and they're wearing designer clothing, designer purses. Yes, we know Christine Quinn makes lots of money and she has a very wealthy husband, but you know, do any of those other real estate agents, I'm sure because they're on the show, yes, they must do well, but like those homes that they tour, do they really sell every single one of them? You know what I mean? Like real estate is a super hard market. I have friends that work in it. I know it's very, very challenging. It is such hard work. You have to be a hustler. You have to be like insane to be successful. On that show, you see them driving around in nice cars, having nice things, and it's interesting because the image of a real estate agent is really about showing that you have enough means because you're successful enough as an agent that you can show up to your showings in a nice car, nice clothes, nice purse, nails done, makeup, all of that, because you want people to perceive you as successful and give you their listings and so on, and you want clients to work with you and so on and so forth. Someone also told me once in some countries, I don't know if I want to say which ones because I don't want to be incorrect, but if anyone knows, comment below. Before you get into business, especially as a man, you need to have a very nice watch, such as a Rolex, to be taken seriously. And so that's just crazy to me because it doesn't show if you're successful. It doesn't show if you've actually have any, you know, money to your name. It just shows you've somehow gotten this watch, so that has the outward image of wealth, which is so interesting. And so I feel like on the topic of, is the Birkin a status symbol? I would say it is in today's materialistic society, but in terms of status, in terms of getting you ahead for like a career, like if you're in real estate, which has a superficial outward appearance, people want their agents to be looking like they have money, they'll make them money, etc. Or in, you know, the business world with the watches in some countries. What does a Birkin do though to get you ahead in a career? There's really no situation unless maybe, yeah, a real estate agent seen with a Birkin looks quite legit. But if they show up driving a Honda, the credibility of that Birkin is going to be taken away like that. You know what I mean? The rise of, you know, influencers buying Hermes and all of that. I don't necessarily know if more people are buying it. Maybe they are. I think that also some people are tiring of certain brands and going on to the next. For example, I love some Gucci items, but there's a lot from Gucci lately that I'm personally not obsessed with. And I haven't been very interested in Gucci for the last couple of years. Their runway stuff is fabulous, sometimes sunglasses, but I've said before on this channel, the belts, no, the bags, I'm really not interested personally. I think they're okay, but nothing is going like wow to me. And so I think in that case, that's a brand that I used to think was great and now I'm not into it. And so yeah, for someone like me who wants like a nice pair of shoes or a nice belt, I might look at somewhere like Hermes, which is a little bit more timeless, has that quality backing behind it, and such beautiful colors and leathers and all of that to choose from. You can customize the belts. There's so many different Oran sandals. I think there's like 50 different ones now, like different shades, materials, all of that. So I don't necessarily know. What do you guys think? Do you think the Birkin bag is a status symbol? I only would say yes because I just see it so much in Dubai, and I find Dubai is just very flashy and very showy, and people like to really show what they have in Dubai. So for that reason, because of where I live, I think it is a status symbol, but I don't think that it should be a status symbol for the wrong reasons. I don't think you should be, you know, buying it to impress people you don't know, people you don't like, or just people in general. I think if you love it and you can buy it and you have the means, definitely go for it if it's a bag you love. Personally, I think the Birkins are cute. I kind of like the smaller ones in the bright colors. Honestly, the large brown or black, like 35s, like the big ones, honestly, they're okay. I think some of Hermes things are beautiful, but I think these smaller, maybe like the 25 or 30 Birkins are nice. The 35s and even like the 40s, which are harder to find, like really hard to find. They're okay. What do you guys think? I think my camera's gonna die, so I have to stop talking now. Thank you for coming to my Birkin TED Talk. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I love you, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye! So, this is getting too deep. I don't know if I want to say this. Do I have arm flab? No. La 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 la. Oh, bro. It is so hard work. What? So hard work.